I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, where we dive into a variety of news pieces, the videos I've done, the games I've played, all of that and more, links and timestamps to everything down below. Before we dive into the news this week, reminder this channel is sponsored by Allplay, and they have an upcoming crowdfunding campaign. They're going to have a crowdfunding campaign for Kabuto Sumo Dice, Wildberries, and Imps. I'll include a link down below so you can go ahead and follow to get notified when that goes live. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the news. We have a bunch of news, some bigger pieces of news this week. Let's start off with the smaller things and work our way up. We have less in the news category, but over on Eric Martin's website, I can't remember what it's called, something The Beat or something, but he has a news website. He used to do the news for Board Game Geek, now he has his own news site. I'll include a link down below, but he has an article on Prime Days and how maybe you should skip Prime, for board games on Prime Days, and maybe skip Prime in general. It's an interesting article. I'm not advocating that you skip Prime all the time. I think there's definitely pros to doing so, but Amazon has all its issues. The thing I wanted to highlight though is that it's definitely worth being aware of. I tell you after Prime Day, it's definitely worth being aware of the fact that on Prime Day, one of the things he covers is misleading sales tactics. They will regularly have things where they're like, oh my gosh, this game is $100, and now for Prime it's $62. But the reality is, if you use Camel or any price tracking website, you'll see that the game was $62 yesterday and the day before and the day before, but it advertises itself as a Prime Day deal, making you think that you are getting a better deal. This is a regular occurrence on Prime Day, unfortunately, to the point that I have become disillusioned, I would say. Like, I still buy things on Prime Day here and there, but I used to treat Prime Day with a lot more excitement than I do nowadays, because once you realize that so many of the things you think are a good deal are lying to you, it takes some of the fun out of the experience. So it's definitely worth being aware of that at the very least, as you choose how to spend your money on board games and as you choose how to spend your money on Prime. From there, we had that piece. We had big news for, well, let's work our way up over here. We have Mind Management, Off the Page Games. They are expanding to another line of internal IPs. So Off the Page Games generally does games based around these various IPs, usually comic book, graphic novels, things like that. And they are expanding to their own internal IPs. So they're going to be doing a line of games that are based around building up their own kind of properties. That's mean that they're doing their own theme. That's what they're doing. They're doing their own theme. It's a line of off-the-page games, a sub-brand, where they are not tied to existing comic book IPs or graphic novel IPs or the like. So if you want to check that out, I think they'll be showing them at Gen Con at the very least. I'm not sure if they're officially available at Gen Con, but they'll be showing them at Gen Con if you want to check them out. Then, in personally the most exciting news to me, but not necessarily the biggest, we have Primal. Primal announced they have I saw some ads going around, so they basically have these upcoming games that seem to be a spin-off off Primal that are card-based only. So if you wanted to dive into Primal, if you've heard all the people rave about Primal, but you're like, geez, I just don't need this over-the-top miniature experience, it sounds like this is trying to give you that. It sounds like this is trying to give you that. I mean, again, gameplay-wise, I don't know what the gameplay similarities or differences are yet, but I imagine if it's anything like Primal, this is almost, in a weird way, I always said Primal is kind of like Marvel Champions. This might be going back to Marvel Champions, but within the Primal ecosystem, which I would love. As much as I do love Marvel Champions, I love Primal even more, and the ability of Primal, but more accessible, so I can pick or choose what hits the table and why. I love that, and I want that to happen, so I would love to. Did I do a video? I think I did a video. I mean, I know I did a video around 5 games I'd love to see more accessible versions of, and I don't know which ones will show up as more accessible versions, but I think Primal is in that. I know Isophian Guard was in that video. I think Primal was in the video. I don't remember if I put Oathsworn in the video. I don't know. But either way, I'd love to see all of those turn into more accessible games. Maybe if I remember, I'll link to that video down below. Basically, it's 5 amazing games that I wish there were more accessible ways to play those games, usually from a stance of box size, but price point, box size, all of those things. Anyways, from there we dive into our 2 bigger pieces of news. We also have over on Board Game Geek, there was basically a post from Eric Roos, the designer of Spirit Island, basically telling us the future of Spirit Island, but not really guaranteed, just kind of less question mark than it was until now. For those who don't know, Greater Than Games was the publisher of Spirit Island. Flat River Group took over Greater Than Games. When Flat River Group said they're getting out of board games and disbanded Greater Than Games, there were some questions as far as what's happening to the various IPs that Greater Than Games had. Recently, there was news that Greater Than Games kind of is starting up again, so to speak, under Handlabber or attached Handlabber. I don't remember the exact attachment there, but effectively they have Sentinels of the Multiverse back, and they're going to be, dealing within that universe. But there was nothing about Greater Than Game, nothing about Spirit Island in that, so we don't know who or what is getting Spirit Island, and there's been lots of question marks. Now, recently, Eric Roos announced on Board Game Geek that effectively Spirit Island is something that the rights to a lot of the things are held by Flat River Group, but the right to the game itself he has. This is a much longer post. I believe Eric Martin, as well as over on Board Game Wire, both have articles covering this if you want to check that out. Again, I'll link down below. But there's a lot to go into. The general idea, though, is there's some degree of things he'll have the rights to, and some degree of things he may or may not have the rights to, and to be safe, he's just going to not deal with them. Functionally speaking, he will have Spirit Island back as his own game. I believe he said he's going to be redoing all the art assets, but the gameplay is going to be the same, and there will be more additional content, not just reproducing it, but there'll be more additional content for Spirit Island. He's still focusing on a Dahan-focused version of the game, Dahan-centric version that's going to be around in some capacity. But anyways, a lot of Spirit Island stuff is still going to happen. As far as how and where, he said that he is in currently talks with a publisher. He did not name who. And he said if that falls through, he will probably just do it himself. So Spirit Island stuff will still come, which I am very happy about because I love Spirit Island and I'm very glad that it's not something that will be done. And honestly, I am very intrigued and excited for the new art asset aspect things. I don't know, like even the miniatures, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not excited about replacing my copy of Spirit Island, but I always thought Spirit Island deserved better, a better everything kind of to an extent. The game is amazing. I think the graphic design could be slightly better. The art I think is great, but the graphic design I think could be slightly better, and I definitely think the miniatures could definitely be better. I would very much look forward to a deluxeified version of Spirit Island, or even just a redone version with those things different. That said, I always have to be mindful. Just because I want something doesn't mean I'm going to get that thing. Anyways, that's basically Spirit Island, which brings us to the last piece of news, arguably the biggest. I don't know. It's always weird which one's the biggest in these categories. For me, Primal's the most exciting, then Spirit Island. This one's not necessarily exciting, but it is a big news. Awaken Realms announced that they are acquiring Thundergryph Games. This is something that was met with both a lot of, yay from a lot of people, and a lot of, oh no, you're going to ruin all these other games with your AI art and bad rulebook. So there's a lot of definite reaction to this news. But basically, Awaken Realms announced they are taking over Thundergryph Games. It sounds like Thundergryph Games is going to be operating as an independent studio under Awaken Realms, but utilizing and benefiting from some of the things that Awaken Realms does well. Those differentiations of who's doing what was not clearly delineated, so there's lots of questions as far as what does that mean, like our customer service, who's taking over that, logistics, warehousing, shipping, who's taking care of all of that, who's responsible for art and production, who's responsible for rule books. These are all questions that a lot of people have because there's a lot of things to cover here. But Thundergryph Games in general, their games do come in a mixed range, honestly. They have some games that are really well received and some games that are less so. Like there's something like, Darwin's Journey, I love. That one's been incredibly well received. Many other games of theirs have been incredibly well received, some a little bit more on the mixed side. They have gotten mixed feedback for customer service over the years, so there were a lot of people who were like, yay, this will be better. But then obviously people who have had good experience with Awaken Realms customer service were like, yay, this will be better. And those who have had not good experiences were like, oh, this doesn't help me at all. So there's always those weird personal experiences and opinions that filter into the reception of this news. Because Awaken Realms is one of those fascinating companies. Like they are responsible. They kind of moved into the CMON problem where people love to hate to an extent, but people love to hate. How to put this? My own 2 cents here is that when a company is successful, they either can be or individuals, companies, whoever, they can either be like almost completely pure of heart, and then they earn a lot of respect for being completely pure of heart, and I'll explain what I mean shortly, or they have any flaws. And those flaws are often forgiven when they are more indie or mid-range, but when you get to be successful, people hate you for those flaws. I might be a little bit more abstract here. This is honestly worth doing a full video on the nature of being successful and popular. But effectively, you'll have companies like, let's say, Leader Games. Leader Games will get a lot of love. They're very down to earth. This is nothing against Leader Games here at all. This is like, Leader Games kind of runs as an indie company, even though they've been massively successful. But then Awaken Realms, there are legitimate things to criticize Awaken Realms for. But because they've been so successful, you fall into that range of almost some groups of people will love to hate them, even as they continue to put out things that are massively popular and have huge audiences, and they're clearly delivering things to people who want those things. But I think the legitimate complaints, then there are legitimate complaints. Disclaimer, by the way, I work for GameFound. GameFound is not owned by Awaken Realms, despite some people saying that, but GameFound was started by Awaken Realms. At this point, they are 2 separate companies. There is shared ownership from the very, individuals at the top, but they are 2 separate companies. But, again, they're definitely, I'm not trying to pretend they're not, friendly or an associate in some way, but they're not owned by Awaken Realms. 2 completely separate buildings, completely separate employees, all of that stuff. But I'm still giving that disclaimer though, because if in any way I am in any way defending Awaken Realms, I think you should at least know this so you know the biases at play. But effectively, Awaken Realms, their legitimate complaints are their rulebooks over the years have not always been the best. And I say that in a way that means that sometimes they've been really the worst, sometimes they've been median, and sometimes they've been pretty good. But they've definitely not always been the best. The AI art stuff, where they effectively they have their own in-house team of something like 35 artists. They have like a team of artists on board, but they do utilize AI as part of that process. And I think that AI in general, people are very, very, very anti-AI, and even more so when you are a larger company who has the perception of, hey, you could afford this, why are you, like, you know, doing whatever. And I have a much more nuanced stance on AI. I hate aspects of generative AI and what it does to the industry. But usually there's lots of areas in which I am more forgiving or okay with it. Not everyone is. And for me, I usually care a lot about the degree of polish our artists involved. More often than not, if it's being used as a tool in the process and not like 95% of the process, I'm usually more okay with it, but I also recognize those that aren't. And that's definitely a legitimate complaint to have. And then customer service, I've never really experienced issues myself on that side, but there are some issues. I think right now with Puerto Rico, there's like that campaign has some issues with customer service going on. And so definitely people have had those issues. And again, when you are a larger company, you don't get grace or goodwill, you're the large entity in the space and we hate you for it. This is the same thing that happened to Simon for a long time, where anytime Simon put out like a Zombicide campaign, you'd be accused of, like, you know, milking the IP and putting out terrible games. But anytime they put out a new campaign that was something unique and not just a derivative system, those campaigns didn't do as well. People would complain when they milked the system, but then not back when they didn't milk the system. And again, that doesn't mean you should milk the system. You still have to be mindful to the reputation you're doing to your own brand. I guess my overall takeaway of all these things is, I think that in both Simon's case and in Awaken Realms' case, very different companies, very different issues, but I think in both cases, I think the complaints people do have are legitimate. I think they're often over-magnified because of the success of those companies, and I think those complaints often ignore the very large groups of people who are fans of those companies and enjoy what those companies put out and do not have the same issues you do. So ultimately, Awaken Realms Aquires Thundergryph games, a lot of people are very excited, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh no, they're ruining board games, which I think is over-dramatic, but hey, that's an opinion. Anyways, that is basically that, which brings us to the videos of the week. This is a longer news segment than usual. Videos of the week. Videos of the week are as follows. It was a shorter videos of the week series because on Sunday and Monday I didn't put anything up because I got them back from Origins, and this year there was a long time. There was like 4 years in which I didn't miss any videos, and this year I was like, you know what? When I just can't make the video work, I can't make the video work. I'm not going to push myself to drive myself crazy. So I got back from Origins, catching up on all the things, but so Sunday, Monday had no videos, but then we had my Saturday video was a week in review, including a mini Origins vlog inside there. So if you want to see some things from Origins, my week in review had that as well. There was an Origins haul video that went up on Wednesday. These are the games I came back from Origins with, of which I've already played most of them. What have I not played? I feel like I've played nearly everything that I came back from Origins with. I've played Wild Berries, I've played Imps, I've played Money Kingdom Town, I've played First Giants, I've played Carnuta, I've played All In. I feel like there were definitely some other games, I don't know where they are. I've played most of the games I came back from Origins with. I'm trying to be aggressive and being on top of them as fast as possible. Then we had, on Friday, we had 10 games in Easy Board Games collection. More specifically, it was like, why are these 10 games in your collection? I did a video a long time ago of the 10 worst games in Easy Board Games collection, and this was an updated video of why are these 10 games here? I've never played them, and I'd like to know what you think about them and why they make the cut if you only have 100 board games. And with that, the regular videos of the week, the games I've covered, the games I've covered this week, we had a 5 first impressions video that went up on Saturday. These are basically a variety of games that I was just giving a, hey, I played this once, here's my thoughts. We had a Planet Unknown Supermoon review. This is the expansion to Planet Unknown. I think it's nice. I don't think it's necessary. I think some things I really enjoy. Instead, the main point of it, the satellites, I almost feel are like, you know, take it or leave it. But there are some other smaller things in the expansion that I do enjoy. Then we had a review for Eureka and Rolling Deep going up on Tuesday. These were the Bitewing games, Rolling Deep, Eureka, both solo-friendly games. Loved both of them, gave them both a 4.5, although almost in different directions. Rolling Deep is more like, well, I don't know. It's hard to really... I think Rolling Deep is a better experience, but I cannot get over the fact that I played Eureka over 50 times in like a 2.5 week period. It was very, very addicting. I enjoyed it a lot. Both games, I don't know the future of where they'll be in my collection. I talk about this in my videos. You can check them out, but they are both fantastic games that I recommend both. I just recommend both with the caveat that I don't know if they're the kinds of games I would burn myself out of, which I often do when I play roguelites on like digital stuff. And like, you know, if I'm playing on my Steam Deck, I will go through Balatro and Hades and all these things, so I don't really feature them, but I do recommend them a lot. Both very, very solid games. Some of my favorite games from Bitewing Games. Trailblazers, I think, is my actual favorite game from Bitewing Games. Then there was a Size-Wise review that went up on Thursday, as well as a 5 review, little mini 5 reviews. Size-Wise is from Origins. Oh, that's another one. Size-Wise, Pet Quartet, played both of those as well. But Size-Wise came back from Origins with, I think it's fantastic. I will have a review for Pet Quartet soon. I think that's also great, although I do think Size-Wise is better. And then I had a video of 5 little mini reviews going up, not really first impressions, but just like 5 reviews all aggregated in a single video. And that's basically the videos of the games we've covered this past week, which brings us to the games I've played this week. As usual, this is a small smattering of the games I've played, but just, you know, a little bit of selection of what's been going on. I've been playing a lot of The Crew, Journey to the Center of the Earth. That is the newest version of The Crew. I will have coverage for you I believe early July is when I can talk about it more. But I'll say that I've been playing it a lot so that I can talk about it more. But it's interesting because last week, not this week, last week I was playing a lot of the Two Towers Lord of the Rings, catching up more on those, which I've never reviewed, by the way. I need to review that. Okay, I need to review that now at this point, because I've reviewed the original Fellowship of the Ring. I never reviewed the Two Towers one. But either way, The Crew, Journey to the Center of the Earth, we'll talk more about my thoughts on it, but I've been playing a lot of that. I've been playing some more Castle of Burgundy recently, which is pretty good, because honestly, I've been playing less Castle of Burgundy this year than I wanted to, I guess. I want to is the right term. I want to play more Castle of Burgundy. And then Enchanted Ivy. I've been playing more Enchanted Ivy as well. So like, that's been a lot of fun. Because I kind of took a break from Enchanted Ivy because I was playing a ton of Rolling Deep and Eureka because of coverage for those. And I dove back into Enchanted Ivy to slowly go through the, again, this will be released at Gen Con, but I have a pre-production copy and I'll have coverage for you soon. But I love Enchanted Ivy and I cannot get enough of that one as well. And that brings us to today. Today we'll have a few things. We'll have an Ice and Idols review going up. I might have an unboxing for the Chemic Big Box. We will see. But if I don't, I will have a Sagrada gameplay going up as well. So an Ice and Idols review and a Sagrada gameplay, the new refreshed version of Sagrada. Next week there'll be a bunch of things. I have a video of when do you sell an out-of-print game? Specifically, when do you sell a game because of the monetary value attached to it? Because you want the money. That's kind of the question. Like, when are you willing to just sell a game just because you want the money when you wouldn't have sold the game otherwise? That's a video I filmed in UKG because I was thinking about it due to a very specific prompt on my end, but we'll talk about that in the video. I should have a 17 more Board Game Arena review video. That's a regular series I do now every few months where I just talk about the last new 17 games I played on Board Game Arena. And I hope to have an Avalon unboxing. Avalon the Riven Vale unboxing. I hope that's going up this week. Might be next, we shall see, but should be going up soon. Which brings us to the games on the table. Games I hope to be playing. I would love to play some Star Trek Captain's Chair. I haven't played the first one, and this showed up, and I was like, I still haven't gotten the first one to the table, but I've heard nothing but great things. I think it's like an 8.2 on Board Game Geek, rated better solo. I want to try this. The rulebook, honestly, the rulebook is so visually over intense. I should look to see if there's a rules video. I should do that, because I usually do not get scared off by rulebooks, but this just looked like work. The game I want to get to, the rulebook looked like work, and I was like, oh my gosh, but I want to play it. We will see. Aberration over here. This was a crowdfunding campaign last year or whatnot. Showed up maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. But Aberration over here is a solo or cooperative game of tower defense. I played the prototype way back when. I want to dive into the final version and give you my thoughts on that. And then Kemet. I hope to be playing Kemet over here. I have all the other Kemet stuff, but I have the newest content from the last campaign, and they have the Gates of Thonis. Is it the Gates of Thonis? I think it's called. Maybe the Throne of Thonis? I think it's the Gates of Thonis, but I might be misremembering. But they have the new campaign coming up, which I will have content for you this upcoming week as well on that. But with that, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.